The wrench slipped from my sweat-slicked hand and clattered against the greenhouse frame like a gunshot in the quiet afternoon, echoing my unraveling heart as Michael's confession hung in the air between us. "Elliot, I didn't tell you because I thought it wouldn't matter anymore," he whispered, his voice cracking like the dry earth we'd tilled together. In that split second, as the summer sun dipped low over the school's overgrown lot in our sleepy Iowa town, I realized the sabotage we'd blamed on vandals wasn't random. It was born from the one secret he'd buried deeper than the seeds we'd planted. That moment replayed in my mind like a bad reel as I drove the old pickup down Elm Street, the tires humming against cracked asphalt that mirrored the fissures in my trust. It was June 2018, and Michael and I had poured everything into this project. The greenhouse for Jefferson High, a sanctuary for kids who'd never seen anything grow but weeds in their front yards. We'd met 2 years earlier at a community garden workshop in Des Moines, both of us misfits in our own ways. Me, the city transplant from Chicago with a botany degree gathering dust. Him, the local boy who'd fled the family farm after coming out at 17. Our first date was under a canopy of cherry blossoms, laughing over failed tomato starts, and by winter, we'd shacked up in my creaky rental on the edge of town, dreaming of green thumbs changing lives. The school board had greenlit the greenhouse idea after I'd pitched it at a PTA meeting. My voice steady despite the skeptical stares from folks who'd whispered, "That gay teacher," behind my back since I started subbing biology gigs. Michael, a handyman by trade with a knack for carpentry, jumped in without hesitation. "We'll make it a haven," he'd said, sketching blueprints on napkins at the diner, his blue eyes lighting up like the northern lights I'd only read about. We fundraised through bake sales and car washes, dodging the sideways glances from neighbors who clutched their pearls at the sight of us hauling lumber side by side. Old Man Hargrove, our next-door busybody with a Confederate flag fluttering in his yard like a bad omen, had been the loudest grumbler. Waste of taxpayer money for some fancy plant hotel. He'd spat at the town hall, his jowls quivering. But we pressed on, hammering nails under the relentless prairie sun, our hands brushing in those stolen moments that felt like vows. By late spring, the frame was up, cedar beams rising like a cathedral against the flat horizon, glass panels waiting to trap the world's breath inside. We'd planted the first seedlings, heirloom tomatoes from my grandma's recipes, basil that Michael swore tasted like his mama's pesto before she stopped speaking to him. The kids from Jefferson, mostly farmhands' children with calluses older than their years, would crowd around after classes, their eyes wide as we explained photosynthesis like it was magic. "Mr. Hale, will it really grow stuff in winter?" Little Sophia Ramirez had asked, tugging my sleeve. I'd knelt to her level, promising yes, because that's what Michael and I did. We made barren things bloom. But then the first incident hit like a sucker punch. One muggy Tuesday, we arrived to find the irrigation lines slashed, water pooling uselessly in the dirt like spilled tears. "Kids being kids," the principal muttered, but Michael's jaw tightened, his fists clenching around the ruined hose. We patched it overnight, me cursing under my breath while he worked in silence, the weight of unspoken fears pressing down. Whispers started circling town. "Heard Hargrove's boy was out late," someone said at the feed store. But we shook it off, too wrapped in each other to see the storm brewing. That storm broke fully on the night of the county fair, fireflies dancing like errant sparks over the midway lights. Michael and I had snuck away from the Ferris wheel crowds, finding a quiet spot by the duck pond where the air smelled of cotton candy and regret. We'd been dancing around the talk for weeks. Marriage, kids, a life beyond this wind whipped on the map. "Elliot," he'd started, his hand warm in mine. "What if we made it official? A commitment ceremony, right here under the oaks." My heart had swelled, words tumbling out about rings and vows, until his phone buzzed. A text from his estranged sister, dredging up ghosts. It was then he confessed. Not about us, but about Hargrove. Turns out, Michael's ex, Tommy Hargrove, old man's golden boy, the football star who'd shattered Michael's world a decade ago by outing him to the whole town in a drunken rage, had slunk back from the city, tail between his legs after a stint in county lockup for bar fights. Tommy had cornered Michael at the hardware store a month prior, slurring apologies laced with venom. You think you can play house with that Yankee faggot and rub it in my face? Michael hadn't told me because he feared it'd drag me into the muck. Feared it'd prove we were just fooling ourselves that love could outrun hate in a place like Harlan, Iowa. I pulled over on that empty road, the engine ticking like a bomb. You let him get in your head, I accused, my voice raw. And now what? He's the one slashing our lines, isn't he? Michael nodded, tears carving tracks through the dust on his cheeks. I thought I could handle it alone. Protect you. Protect me from what? The bigotry that still simmered under polite nods at church potlucks? The betrayal that felt sharper than any knife because it came wrapped in silence? We drove home in fractured quiet, the radio droning country ballads about lost loves and second chances. That night, tangled in sheets that smelled of sawdust and sweat, we made love not with fire but with fragility, his whispers of "I'm sorry" blending with my doubts. By morning, resolve hardened like frost on the fields. We'd confront it head-on. No more hiding. The next days blurred into a frenzy of repairs and reconnaissance. I taught classes on overwatered petunias while Michael tailed Tommy's rusty Ford around town, noting the dents that matched our greenhouse's fresh gouges. The kids sensed the tension. During lunch duty, Javier Morales cornered me by the vending machines. "Mr. Hale, is someone messing with the greenhouse? 'Cause if they are, me and the guys'll watch it." His fierce loyalty, born from his own battles with bullies calling him wetback, nearly undid me. I ruffled his hair, promising it'd be okay, but inside, the fear gnawed. What if this poison seeped into the school, turning our haven into a target? Hargrove's sabotage escalated that Friday, a biblical downpour turning the lot into a mud slick. We arrived to Armageddon. The entire east wall of glass panels shattered, shards glinting like accusations in the rain. Seedlings uprooted, trampled into pulp, and spray painted across the frame in dripping red. "Go back to the city, queers." My knees buckled, rain mingling with the sob I couldn't choke back. Michael wrapped me in his jacket, his body a bulwark against the deluge, but his eyes, God, his eyes, held a storm of their own. "This ends now," he growled, dialing the sheriff. Sheriff Daniels, a decent sort who'd shared beers with us at the VFW, arrived with lights flashing, his deputy snapping photos while Hargrove Sr. lumbered over from his porch, feigning concern. "Terrible shame," he drawled, toothpick rolling between yellowed teeth. But Tommy was nowhere, vanished like smoke. Daniels promised an investigation, but we knew the score in Harlan. Family ties ran thicker than justice, especially when the victim was us. That night, betrayal's second act unfolded. Michael got a call from his sister, Lila, voice trembling over the line. "Tommy's here, Elliot's not picking up." "Wait, no, Michael's not." She spilled it all. Tommy, drunk and raging, had confessed to her over family dinner, boasting about teaching that pansy a lesson for stealing my man. Lila, who'd thawed toward Michael after years of radio silence, had recorded it on her phone, her maternal instincts overriding blood loyalty. She texted the audio, a guttural rant that ended with, "Dad knows." He handed me the spray paint himself. I listened alone in the kitchen, the recording's venom seeping into my bones like herbicide. Old Man Hargrove, the neighbor who'd waved at us over fences, who'd even donated scrap wood once with a gruff, "Don't say I never helped." Betrayal upon betrayal, Michael's silence. Now this paternal complicity. When Michael came in from the garage, reeking of turpentine, I shoved the phone at him. His face crumpled, not in shock, but in weary recognition. "I suspected," he admitted, sinking to the linoleum. "But Dad, that's the knife twist." We didn't sleep. Instead, we plotted under the hum of the fridge. Evidence to the sheriff, a town hall showdown, maybe even a civil suit if it came to that. But beneath the strategy, emotion churned. My anger at Michael for shielding me like I was glass. His guilt for dragging his past into our future. "I love you enough to fight dirty if I have to," he said at dawn, cupping my face, his thumbs rough from years of honest labor. I leaned into it, whispering, "Then fight clean with me. No more solos." The climax crashed down that Sunday at the Harlan Community Center. packed for the emergency town hall Principal Hayes had called. Folding chairs scraped under fluorescent buzz. Faces I'd known for years now etched with curiosity or outright hostility. Hargrove Sr. sat front row, arms crossed like a sentinel. Tommy slouched beside him, nursing a black eye from some other brawl. Daniel stood by the door, notebook in hand, while Lila hovered in the back, her phone clutched like a talisman. Hayes opened with facts. The vandalism's toll, $5,000 in damages. Irreplaceable starts lost, kids' dreams deferred. Murmurs rippled, but when I took the mic, my voice, steady from Chicago subways, not Iowa whispers, cut through. This isn't about glass or plants. It's about hate trying to uproot what we've built. Michael and I poured our hearts into that greenhouse because we believe in growth, in second chances. For the kids. For this town. Applause scattered, tentative, but Sophia's cheer pierced loudest. Then Michael stepped up, Lila's recording cued on the projector. Tommy's voice boomed, slurred and spiteful. The room gasping as Hargrove's involvement spilled out. Chaos erupted, shouts from the back. A chair toppling, old man Hargrove lurching to his feet, face purple. Lies. That boy's always been troubled. It's your kind that drives good folk mad. But Daniels moved in, cuffing Tommy on the spot while the elder Hargrove deflated, muttering about family honor, as neighbors he'd lorded over turned away. In the melee, as flashbulbs popped from the local rags photographer, Michael pulled me aside into the coat room, the air thick with wool and relief. We did it, he breathed, forehead to mine. But my heart twisted, not with triumph, but the raw ache of what it had cost. At what price? I murmured. Your family, splintered forever? He shook his head, fierce. They're not my family. You are. This town, these kids, they are. Outside, under a sky clearing to stars, the crowd dispersed in hushed clusters. Lila approached, tentative, hugging Michael tight enough to bruise. I'm proud of you, little brother. And Elliot, thank you for loving him whole. Her words, simple as Iowa soil, mended something in us both. The sheriff later charged the Hargroves. Vandalism, hate crime enhancements sticking like burrs. Insurance covered half the rebuild, the rest from donations that poured in, folks ashamed or awakened dropping checks at the school. By fall, the greenhouse rose anew, stronger. Reinforced frames, solar panels glinting like promises. The kids harvested the first tomatoes under October's amber light, Sophia biting into one with juice-dripping glee. Michael and I stood at the threshold, his arm around my waist. The weight of betrayal faded to scar tissue. We'd married quietly that summer in Des Moines, under those same oaks, rings exchanged with vows of transparency. No more secrets, only shared sunlight. Yet humanism's quiet truth lingered. Hate doesn't vanish with handcuffs. It withers with witness. Hargrove Sr. passed that winter, alone in his flag-draped house, but Tommy wrote Michael from lockup, a scrawled note, not apology but admission. You won. Live good. Michael burned it in the backyard fire pit, ashes scattering like forgiven seeds. We planted a memorial oak by the greenhouse, roots deep for storms to come. Looking back, that shattered night wasn't our end but our forge, testing, tempering our bond into something unbreakable. In Harlan's endless fields, where winds whisper of endurance, Michael and I grew not just plants, but proof that love, tended right, outlasts any sabotage. As winter's grip loosened into spring's tentative thaw, the greenhouse became more than a structure. It evolved into Harlan's beating heart, a verdant pulse against the monochrome of snow-melted fields. Michael and I divided our days like chapters in an unfinished book. Mornings in the soil, afternoons wrangling lesson plans, evenings lost in each other's arms, mapping constellations on bare skin under threadbare quilts. But the sabotage's shadow lingered, not as fear, but as a catalyst, sharpening our edges and deepening the grooves of our commitment. I'd always been the planner, the one with dog-eared journals filled with propagation charts and 5-year visions for the school's eco-club. Michael, though God, he was the doer, the one whose calloused palms turned sketches into reality. his laugh booming like thunder over the din of power tools. After the town hall, folks who'd once averted eyes now nodded hellos at the post office. Even Mrs. Whitaker slipping us extra scones at her bakery with a wink for the heroes. It felt like victory, but victories in small-town America are fragile as eggshells, prone to cracking under the weight of old habits. The first real test came in March, when the Des Moines Register ran a feature, Love in the Greenhouse, How Two Men Blossomed Amid Hate. Photos of us knee-deep in mulch, captions touting resilience and romance, turned our quiet rebuild into a spectacle. Reporters swarmed the school lot, mics thrust like weeds we couldn't pull. "How does it feel to be gay icons in conservative Iowa?" one asked, her smile all teeth. I fielded it with a shrug. "We're just gardeners." But Michael tensed beside me, his grip on the shovel whitening knuckles. That night, over canned chili at the Formica table, he voiced the undercurrent I'd ignored. "They're turning us into a cause, L. What if it backfires? What if Tommy's crew sees it as a taunt?" I reached across, tracing the vein on his wrist, a roadmap of his labors. "Then we lean in. Show them love isn't a battlefield. It's the damn victory garden." He softened, pulling me onto his lap, our kisses tasting of spice and unspoken vows. But doubt seated itself, sprouting tendrils in quiet moments. A hang-up call at midnight, tires crunching gravel outside our window too slow to be passers-by. Meanwhile, the kids flourished under our watch. We expanded the curriculum, hydroponics for the advanced group, sensory gardens for the special ed class, where tactile herbs calmed fidgety hands. Javier, now my unofficial foreman, organized a Green Guardians patrol, tweens with walkie-talkies staking out the lot after dusk. Their innocence armored us. Sophia's drawings of Mr. Hale and Mr. Ellis's magic house, plastered the fridge, crayon rainbows arching over stick figure us holding hands. It humanized the fight, reminding us why we'd started. Not for headlines, but for these small souls learning that nurture beats neglect. Yet conflict simmered anew when Lila announced her visit. Michael's sister, post-town hall, had become a tentative bridge, weekly calls evolving from stilted updates to shared recipes, her voice warming like bread from the oven. "I'm bringing the kids," she said over speakerphone, her twins' giggles echoing. "They need to see their Uncle Mike's world." Excitement buzzed, but under it, my unease. Family mended as family tested, and Lila's husband, a stoic John Deere salesman with a mustache like a broom bristle, had skipped the hall, citing work. They arrived on a blustery Saturday, the minivan kicking up dust devils in our drive. The twins, Ellie and Ben, tumbled out like puppies, wide-eyed at the greenhouse's glow. Lila hugged Michael fierce, then me, her embrace lingering as if apology. "For all the years we lost," she murmured. We toured the panes, little hands pressing against warm glass, marveling at lemon trees heavy with fruit. "Uncle Mike grew these? From seeds?" Ben asked, painting his freckled face. Michael beamed, lifting him to sniff a bloom, the scene so achingly normal it nearly broke me. Dinner was my attempt at Americana. Pot roast slow-cooked with carrots from our plot, cornbread steaming on the side. Around the table, talk flowed easy. Lila's job at the library, the twins' soccer triumphs, until her husband, Greg, cleared his throat, fork pausing midair. "Heard about the article. Bold move, boys. But you know how folks talk." The room chilled, silverware clinking like ice. Michael's fork stilled. I jumped in, light as pie. "Talk fades. Growth doesn't." But Greg pressed, mustache twitching. "Just saying stirring pots invites flies. Tommy Hargrove's kin to half this county." Lila shot him a glare, but damage bloomed. Later, as I washed dishes, Michael cornered me in the pantry. "He's right, in a way. We're poking bears." His vulnerability hit like a slap, the man who'd faced down his own father now second-guessing our spotlight. I dried my hands, cupping his face. "Bears hibernate. We're planting oaks." We made love on the couch after they left, urgent and affirming, bodies affirming what words couldn't. We were each other's anchor. But anchors drag when storms hit. 2 nights later, sirens wailed at 2 a.m., yanking us from sleep. The greenhouse, our phoenix, blazed, flames licking the night sky like vengeful tongues. I bolted upright, heart hammering, Michael already yanking on boots. "No, no, God no," I chanted, scrambling after him into the truck. The drive blurred, red lights pulsing against my terror. Smoke billowed as we screeched to a halt, firefighters wrestling hoses while Daniels barked orders. The structure groaned, collapsing in a shower of embers, glass melting into slag. Michael staggered forward, but I grabbed his arm, lungs burning from acrid haze. "It's gone," I whispered, the words ash in my throat. He turned, eyes hollow. "Not if we fight." "But fight what?" Arson investigators combed the ruins by dawn, finding accelerant traces, gasoline, cheap and local. Whispers pointed to Tommy's cousins, out on bail, their grudge festering like an untended wound. The register circled back, headlines screaming, "Hates Inferno." Greenhouse torched in homophobic attack. Protests erupted, vigils with candles mirroring the blaze. Allies from Des Moines marching with signs, "Grow love, not hate." In the fallout, betrayal's third layer peeled back. Greg called Michael the next day, voice oily. "Heard the news. Tragic. But maybe it's a sign. Tone it down for Lila's sake." Michael's rage crackled over the line. He hung up, hurling the phone against the wall. Lila showed up hours later, twins in tow, face ashen. He didn't mean Greg scared, that's all. Scared of losing his place in the church crowd. Michael paced the living room, a caged wolf. "Scared? We're the ones dodging firebombs." She wept then, confessing Greg's ties to the Hargrove clan. Golf buddies with Tommy's uncle, whispers of standing up for family values. The revelation gutted him. "Even you, Lil? Defending that poison?" She shook her head, fierce. "No. I'm choosing you. Us." She left with promises of divorce papers, the twins clinging to Michael like life rafts. Alone, we crumbled, me holding him as sobs racked his frame. The man who'd built empires from splinters now splintered himself. "I thought we were past this," he choked. I rocked him, murmuring nonsense about phoenixes and fertile ash. Emotion's tide pulled us under, but in its depths we found clarity. Family isn't blood. It's the ones who stay to rebuild. The climax rebuilt itself in court that May, a sweltering chamber packed with Harlan's ghosts. Tommy's cousin, Dale, stood trial for arson, evidence mounting like vines. Gas receipts, witness sightings, Lila's testimony sealing the noose. Greg didn't show, but his absence spoke volumes. Divorce finalized the week prior. As the gavel fell, "Guilty, 10 years, Michael squeezed my hand under the bench, knuckles white. Outside, reporters mobbed, but we slipped away to the school lot, the charred foundation a scar we planned to heal. Reconstruction began in June, community hands joining ours. Javier wielding a hammer like Excalibur, Sophia scattering wildflower seeds in the cracks. Donors flooded, national orgs, queer rights groups, even a grant from the Botanical Society. Michael designed it grander. Living walls of native prairie plants, a classroom nook for story hours on resilience. I taught the first class there, voice steady. Fire clears the old growth, makes way for stronger roots. Yet romance's thread wove tighter in the quiet rebuilds. One evening, as sunset gilded the new panes, Michael knelt in the dirt, ring box in pocket. "Meri me praper, él." Here, where it all burned and bloomed. Tears blurred my yes, our kiss sealing amid the scent of turned earth. Romantic, raw, reborn. Summer unfurled like a victory banner over Harlan. The greenhouse's grand reopening drawing a crowd that swelled the schoolyard into a sea of faces. Neighbors with pitchforks turned to potlucks, skeptics softened by seedlings in their own windowsills. Michael and I stood at the ribbon cutting, his hands steady in mine, the mayor's speech droning about unity in the face of adversity. But as scissors snipped silk, my eyes caught Hargrove Sr.'s empty porch across the way, a flag limp in the breeze, a silent concession to time's inexorable march. Tommy remained caged, his letters unanswered, but in their void, we'd carved space for grace. Not forgiveness, but forgetting's kinder cousin. Life post-fire settled into rhythms we'd earned. Mornings with coffee black as prairie nights, Michael sketching expansions while I graded papers on symbiotic fungi, metaphors for our own entwined fates. The Eco Club thrived, field trips to the Mississippi Bluffs teaching erosions lessons, how borders blur, how holding too tight invites collapse. Javier, now a high school freshman with a scholarship essay on roots of resistance, credited us in his draft. Mr. Hale and Mr. Ellis showed me Sabotage is just soil turned wrong. Flip it and it feeds. Reading it aloud over dinner, Michael's pride shone brighter than the solar lanterns we'd installed. His arm around my shoulders a quiet anchor. Yet drama's embers glowed on, humanistic in their reminder that healing is jagged. Lila relocated to Harlan that fall, renting a bungalow 2 blocks over, the twins enrolling at Jefferson with soccer cleats and lunchboxes monogrammed E&H. For us, she joked, winking over pie at her housewarming. Her divorce had been swift, Greg slinking to Davenport with tail tucked, but scars lingered. Nights when she'd call Michael at odd hours, voice small, asking if love could regrow after wildfire. We'd visit Sundays, the 4. No 6 with Ben and Ellie. Forming a patchwork family, meals laced with laughter and the occasional ache for what was lost. One crisp October eve, conflict crested softly, not with flames but words. Lila invited us for harvest stew. The twins abed early, leaving us 3 around her harvest moon glow of candles. Wine loosened tongues. She confessed Greg's final plea, choose them or us. And her choices cost. Isolation from cousins, church pews cold without her. I see you too, building empires from ashes, and it guts me. I want that, but fear's got claws. Michael, ever the fixer, leaned forward. Fear's the weed, Lil. Pull it daily. I added softer. And we're here for the weeding parties. She nodded, tears glinting. But the night's true hook snagged when she slid a faded envelope across the table. Tommy's latest missive, forwarded by the warden. Read it together, she urged. Michael's hand trembled opening it, the scrawl spilling regret. I ain't excusing nothing, Mike. Dad's gone and it's on me. The hate he fed me I swallowed and spewed. Seeing your greenhouse in the paper. It grew something in here. Not love but sorry. Real sorry. No poetry, just raw Americana penance. Postmarked from a cell block garden project he joined. Silence stretched, heavy as harvest moon. Michael folded it, eyes distant. Part of me wants to burn it again. Covered his hand. Or plant it. Let sorry seed something. Lila's gaze bridged us. Humanity's in the messy middles, right? Not perfection. We burned it that night in her fire pit anyway. Sparks rising like released ghosts. But the act felt ceremonial, not vengeful. A rite closing the circle. Romance, ever our compass, deepened in winter's hush. With the greenhouse humming on passive solar, we hosted Yule log lessons. Evenings of cocoa and conifers. Teaching kids evergreen lore while adults mingled, walls thawing. One such night, snow blanketing the lot like forgiveness. Michael pulled me into the propagation room, door clicking shut on carols. Remember our first winter here? He murmured, breath warm against my neck. Freezing in that drafty rental, dreaming of this. His fingers traced my jaw, slow as sap rising. Now we've got heat, inside and out. Our kiss unfolded like a fern frond, tender, timeless, bodies aligning in the soft glow of grow lights, emotions quiet crescendo. Spring brought the ultimate climax. Not destruction, but creation's flood. The register followed up, from ashes to abundance. Harlan's greenhouse thrives. But the real surge was local seed swaps at the farmer's market, where Mrs. Whitaker hawked Hale Ellis heirlooms, her scones now paired with our basil pesto. Even the principal floated a Resilience Wing edition, funded by grants we'd never chased alone. Yet the pinnacle peaked at Jefferson's spring fair, booths bursting with our club's bounty. Jams from foraged berries, wreaths of woven wheat. As MC, I scanned the crowd from the stage, heart full, Sophia twirling in a dress sewn from recycled curtains, Javier demoing compost bins to awed parents. Michael joined me mid-speech, mic in hand. This isn't just plants, he boomed, voice carrying over hoopla. It's people roots intertwined, weathering winds. Cheers erupted, but his aside, whispered low, hooked me deepest. And you, L, my forever graft. The fair's close found us atop the hill overlooking town. Blankets spread, stars pricking the velvet sky. Lila and the kids picnicked nearby, laughter floating like fireflies. Michael uncorked cider, toasting to bonds unbreakables. Conversation meandered, dreams of a bed and breakfast greenhouse, adoptions maybe, or just more of this, ordinary miracles. But humanism's core surfaced in quiet. Do you ever wonder if we'd be stronger without the sabotage? I asked, head on his chest. His chuckle rumbled. Nah. It stripped us bare, showed the grain. We're oak now, bent, not broken. Dawn crept, painting the horizon pink, and in that liminal light, betrayal's ghosts fully fled. We'd lost much, illusions of easy acceptance, fragments of Michael's past, but gained a tapestry richer. A town inching toward empathy, a family forged in fire, a love dramatic in its devotion. Years later, as gray threaded our hair and the greenhouse spanned acres, mentoring a new generation of growers, I traced the faint scar on Michael's palm, from that first wrench drop and smile. We'd built more than glass and green. We'd cultivated proof that in America's heartland, where winds howl harsh, two men could sow a legacy of light. And in the end, that's the story worth telling. Not the sabotage, but the strength it summoned, blooming eternal.